Hello and welcome back to the reading of the Holy Bible. Today we will be reading Judges chapters 9, 10, and 11, and 12. Chapter 9. Abimelech made king of Shechem. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem, to his mother's brethren, and spoke to them, and to all the kindred of his mother's father, saying, Speak to all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you that 70 men, all the sons of Jerubbaal, should rule over you, or that one man should rule over you. And withal consider that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother's brethren spoke of him to all the men of Shechem all these words, and they inclined their hearts after Abimelech, saying, He is our brother. And they gave him 70 weight of silver out of the temple of Baal-berith, wherewith... one second, I apologize. Let's continue. And resuming with verse 4. And they gave him 70 weight of silver out of the temple of Baal-berith, wherewith he hired to himself men that were needy and vagabonds, and they followed him. Chapter 9, verse 4. Baal-berith. That is, Baal of the covenant, so called from the covenant made with Baal. Resuming with verse 5. And he came to his father's house in Ephrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, 70 men upon one stone, and there remained only Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, who was hidden. And all the men of Shechem were gathered together, and all the families of the city of Millo, and they went and made Abimelech king by the oak that stood in Shechem. Jotham rebukes the Shechemites. This being told to Jotham, he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifting up his voice, he cried and said, Hear me, you men of Shechem, so may God hear you. The trees went to anoint a king over them, and they said to the olive tree, Reign thou over us. And it answered, Can I leave my fatness, which both gods and men make use of, to come to be promoted among the trees? And the trees said to the fig tree, Come thou and reign over us. And it answered, Verse 9, clarification. Both gods and men make use of. The olive tree is introduced, speaking in this manner, because oil was used both in the worship of the true God and in that of false gods, whom the Shechemites served. Resuming with verse 11. And it answered them, Can I leave my sweetness and my delicious fruits, and go to be promoted among the other trees? And the trees said to the vine, Come thou and reign over us. And it answered them, Can I forsake my wine, that cheereth God and men, be promoted among the other trees? Verse 13, clarification. Cheereth God and men. Wine is here represented as agreeable to God, because he had anointed it to be offered up with his sacrifices. But we are not obliged to take these words spoken by the trees in Jotham's parable, according to the strict literal sense, but only in a sense accommodated to the design of the parable. Resuming with verse 14. And all the trees said to the bramble, Come thou and reign over us. And it answered them, If indeed you mean to make me king, come ye and rest under my shadow. But if you mean it not, let fire come out from the bramble, and devour the cedars of Libanus. Now therefore, if you have done well and without sin in appointing Abimelech king over you, and have dealt well with Jerubbaal and with his house, and have made a suitable return for the benefits of him who fought for you, and exposed his life to dangers, to deliver you from the hands of Midian, and you are now risen up against my father's house, and have killed his sons, 70 men upon one stone, and have made Abimelech, the son of his handmaid, king over the inhabitants of Shechem, because he is your brother. If therefore you have dealt well and without fault with Jerubbaal and his house, rejoice ye this day at Abimelech, and may he rejoice in you. But if unjustly, let fire come out from him, and consume the inhabitants of Shechem and the town of Millo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the town of Millo, and devour Abimelech. And when he had said thus, he fled, and went into Borah, and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech, his brother. The Shechemites detest Abimelech, so Abimelech reigned over Israel for 3 years. And the Lord sent a very evil spirit between Abimelech and the inhabitants of Shechem, who began to detest him, and to leave the crime of the murderer of the 70 sons of Jerubbaal, and the shedding of their blood upon Abimelech their brother, and upon the rest of the princes of the Shechemites who aided him. And they set an ambush against him on the top of the mountains. And while they waited for his coming, they committed robberies, taking spoils of all that passed by, and it was told Abimelech. Gaal threatens to remove Abimelech, and Gaal, the son of Obed, came with his brethren, and went over to Shechem. And the inhabitants of Shechem, taking courage at his coming, went out into the fields, wasting the vineyards, and treading down the grapes and singing and dancing, they went into the temples of their God, and in their banquets and cups they cursed Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Obed, cried, Who is Abimelech, and what is Sichem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal, and hath made Zebul his servant ruler over the men of Emor, the father of Sichem? Why then shall we serve him? Would to God that some man would put this people under my hand, that I might remove Abimelech out of the way. Zebul urges Abimelech to attack Sichem. And it was said to Abimelech, Gather together the multitude of an army, and come. For Zebul, the ruler of the city, hearing the words of Gaal, the son of Obed, was very angry, and sent messengers privately to Abimelech, saying, Behold, Gaal, the son of Obed, is come into Sichem with his brethren, and endeavoureth to set the city against thee. Arise therefore in the night with the people that is with thee, and lie hid in the field, and betimes in the morning at sun rising, set upon the city. And when he shall come out against thee with his people, do to him what thou shalt be able. Abimelech overcomes Sichem. Abimelech therefore arose with all his army by night, and laid ambushes near Sichem, in 4 places. And Gaal, the son of Obed, went out, and stood in the entrance of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up, and all his army with him, from the places of the ambushes. And when Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, Behold, a multitude cometh down from the mountains. And he answered him, Thou seest the shadows of the mountains, as if they were the heads of men, and this is thy mistake. Again Gaal said, Behold, there cometh people down from the middle of the land, and one troop cometh by the way of what looketh towards the oak. And Zebul said to him, Where is now thy mouth wherewith thou saidst, Who is Abimelech that we should serve him? Is not this the people which thou didst despise? Go out and fight against him. So Gaal went out in the sight of the people of Sichem, and fought against Abimelech, who chased and put him to flight, and drove him to the city, and many were slain of his people, even to the gate of the city. And Abimelech sat down in Rumah. But Zebul drove Gaal and his companions out of the city, and would not suffer them to abide in it. So the day following the people went out into the field, and it was told Abimelech, and he took his army and divided into 3 companies, and laid ambushes in the field. And seeing that the people came out of the city, he arose and set upon them, with his own company, assaulting and besieging the city, whilst the 2 other companies chased the enemies that were scattered about the field. And Abimelech assaulted the city that day, and took it, and killed the inhabitants thereof, and demolished it, so that he sowed salt in it. Verse 45, clarification. Sowed salt, an example, made the ground barren and fit for nothing. Abimelech burns the tower of Sichem. And when they who dwelt in the tower of Sichem had heard this, they went into the temple of their god Berith, where they had made a covenant with him. And from thence the place had taken its name, and it was exceeding strong. Abimelech, also hearing that the men of the tower of Sichem were gathered together, went up into Mount Selman, he and all his people with him. And taking an axe, he cut down the bough of a tree, and laying it on his shoulder. And carrying it, he said to his companions, What you see me do, do you out of hand. So they cut down boughs from the trees, every man as fast as he could, and followed their leader. And surrounding the fort, they set it on fire. And so it came to pass, that with the smoke and with the fire 1,000 persons were killed, men and women together, of the inhabitants of the tower of Sichem. Abimelech dies in battle. Then Abimelech, departing from thence, came to the town of Thebes, which he surrounded and besieged with his army. And there was in the midst of the city a high tower, to which both the men and the women were fled together. And all the princes of the city, and having shut and strongly barred the gate, they stood upon the battlements of the tower to defend themselves. And Abimelech, coming near the tower, fought stoutly, and approaching to the gate, endeavored to set fire to it. And behold, a certain woman, casting a piece of a millstone from above, dashed it against the head of Abimelech, and broke his skull. And he called hastily to his armor-bearer, and said to him, Draw thy sword, and kill me, lest it should be said that I was slain by a woman. He did as was commanded, and slew him. And when he was dead, all the men of Israel that were with him returned to their homes. Jotham's curse fulfilled. And God repaid the evil that Abimelech had done against his father, killing his 70 brethren. The Sichemites also were rewarded for what they had done, and the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, came upon them. Chapter 10. Thola and Jair judge Israel. After Abimelech, there arose a ruler in Israel, Thola, son of Phua, the uncle of Abimelech, a man of Issachar, who dwelt in Samir of Mount Ephraim. Verse 1, clarification. Uncle of Abimelech, an example, half-brother to Gideon, as being born of the same mother, but by a different father and of a different tribe. Resuming with verse 2. And he judged Israel 23 years, and he died and was buried in Samir. To him succeeded Jair the Galadite, who judged Israel for 22 years, having 30 sons that rode on 30 ass colts, and were princes of 30 cities, which from his name were called Havoth Jair. that is, the towns of Jair, until this present day in the land of Galilee. Verse 4, clarification. Havoth Jair. This name was now confirmed to these towns, which they had formerly received from another Jair. Numbers chapter 32, verse 41. Resuming with verse 5. And Jair died, and was buried in the place which was called Kamon. Philistines and Ammonites oppressed Israel. But the children of Israel, adding new sins to their old ones, did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served idols, Baalim and Ashtaroth, and the gods of Syria and of Sidon, and of Moab, and of the children of Ammon, and of the Philistines, and they left the Lord, and did not serve him. And the Lord, being angry with them, delivered them into the hands of the Philistines, and of the children of Ammon, and they were afflicted, and grievously oppressed for 18 years, all they that dwelt beyond the Jordan, in the land of the Amorite, who is in Galilee, insomuch that the children of Ammon, passing over the Jordan, wasted Judah, and Benjamin, and Ephraim, and Israel was distressed exceedingly. The Israelites cried to God. And since they cried to the Lord, and said, We have sinned against thee, because we have forsaken the Lord our God, and have served Baalim. And the Lord said to them, Did not the Egyptians, and the Amorites, and the children of Ammon, and the Philistines, the Sidonians also, and Amalek and Canaan oppressed you? And you cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. And yet you have forsaken me, and have worshipped strange gods. Therefore I will deliver you no more. Go and call upon the gods which you have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of distress. Israelites put away false gods. And the children of Israel said to the Lord, We have sinned. Do thou unto us whatsoever pleaseth thee. Only deliver us this time. And saying these things, they cast away out of their coast all the idols of strange gods, and served the Lord their God. And he was touched with their miseries. And the children of Ammon, shouting together, pitched their tents in Galilee, against whom the children of Israel assembled themselves together, and camped in Maspah. And the princes of Galilee said one to another, Whosoever of us shall first begin to fight against the children of Ammon, he shall be the leader of the people of Galilee. Chapter 11. Jephthah flees from his brothers. There was at that time Jephthah the Gileadite, a most valiant man, and a warrior, the son of a woman that was a harlot, and his father was Galad. Now Galad had a wife, of whom he had sons, who after they were grown up thrust out Jephthah, saying, Thou canst not inherit in the house of our father, because thou art born of another mother. Then he fled and avoided them, and dwelt in the land of Tob. And there were gathered to him needy men, and robbers, and they followed him as their prince. Jephthah becomes prince of Galad. In those days the children of Ammon made war against Israel, and as they pressed hard upon them, the ancients of Galilee went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob to help them. And they said to him, Come thou and be our prince, and fight against the children of Ammon. And he answered them, Are not you the men that hated me, and cast me out of my father's house, and now you are come to me, constrained by necessity? And the princes of Galilee said to Jephthah, For this cause we are now come to thee, that thou mayest go with us, and fight against the children of Ammon, and be head over all the inhabitants of Galilee. Jephthah also said to them, If you become to me sincerely, that I should fight for you against the children of Ammon, and the Lord shall deliver them into my hand, shall I be your prince? They answered him, The Lord who heareth these things himself is mediator and witness that we will do as we have promised. Jephthah therefore went with the princes of Galilee, and all the people made him their prince. And Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord in Maspah. Jephthah's message to the Ammonites. And he sent messengers to the king of the children of Ammon, to say in his name, What hast thou to do with me? What hast thou to do with me, that thou art, not what thou art, that thou art come against me to waste my land? And he answered them, Because Israel took away my land when he came up out of Egypt, from the confines of the Arnon unto the Jabbok, and the Jordan. Now therefore restore the same peaceably to me. And Jephthah again sent word by them, and commanded them to say to the king of Ammon, Thus saith Jephthah, Israel did not take away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. But when they came up out of Egypt, he walked through the desert to the Red Sea, and came into Kadesh. And he sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, Suffer me to pass through thy land. But he would not... through thy land. But he would not condescend to his request. He sent also to the king of Moab, who likewise refused to give him passage. He abode therefore in Kadesh. It went round the land of Edom at the side, in the land of Moab, and came over against the east coast of the land of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. And he would not enter the bounds of Moab, for the Arnon is the border of the lands of Moab. So Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. And they said to him, Suffer me to pass through thy land to the river. But he also, despising the words of Israel, suffered him not to pass through his borders, but gathering an infinite multitude, went out against him to Jassa, and made strong opposition. And the Lord delivered him with all his army into the hands of Israel, and he slew him, and possessed all the land of the Amorite, the inhabitant of that country, and all the coast thereof from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan. So the Lord, the God of Israel, destroyed the Amorite, his people of Israel, fighting against him. And wilt thou now possess this land? Are not those things which thy God Chamos possesseth due to thee by right? But what the Lord our God hath obtained by conquest shall be our possession. Chapter 11, verse 24, a clarification. Chamos, the idol of the Moabites and Ammonites, he argues from their opinion, who thought they had a just title to the countries which they imagined they had conquered by the help of their gods. How much more then had Israel an indisputable title to the countries which God, by visible miracles, had conquered for them. Resuming with verse 25. Actually, we'll resume with verse 24 and continue from there. Are not these things which thy God Chamos possesseth due to thee by right? But what the Lord our God hath obtained by conquest shall be our possession, unless perhaps thou art better than Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, or canst show that he strove against Israel, and fought against him, whereas he hath dwelt in Heshbon, and the villages thereof, and in Aroer, and its villages, and in all the cities near the Jordan, for 300 years. Why have you for so long a time attempted nothing about this claim? Therefore I do not trespass against thee, but thou wrongest me by declaring an unjust war against me. The Lord be judge and decide this day between Israel and the children of Ammon. And the king of the children of Ammon would not hearken to the words of Jephthah, which he sent him by the messengers. Jephthah's vow. Therefore the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and going round Galad and Manassas, in Maspha of Galad, and passing over from thence to the children of Ammon, he made a vow to the Lord, saying, If thou wilt deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, whosoever shall first come forth out of the doors of my house, and shall meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, the same will I offer a holocaust to the Lord. Verse 31 in clarification. Whosoever, some are of the opinion that the meaning of this vow of Jephthah was to consecrate to God whatsoever should first meet him according to the condition of the thing. Thus he would offer it up as a holocaust if it were such a thing as might be so offered by the law, or devote it otherwise to God, if it were not such as the law allowed to be offered in sacrifice. And therefore they think the daughter of Jephthah was not slain by her father, but only consecrated to perpetual virginity. But the common opinion, followed by the generality of the holy fathers and divines, is that she was offered as a holocaust, in consequence of her father's vow. Moreover, most think that Jephthah did not sin, at least not mortally, in making or in keeping his vow, since he is in no way blamed for it in Scripture, and was even inspired by God himself to make the vow. Verse 29 through 30. In consequence of which he obtained the victory. Therefore he reasonably concluded that God, who is the master of life and death, was pleased on this occasion to dispense with his own law, and that it was the divine will that he should fulfill his vow. Resuming with verse 32. Jephthah defeats the Ammonites, and Jephthah passed over to the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he smote them from Aroer till you come to Meneth, 20 cities, and as far as Abel, which is set with vineyards, and a very great slaughter. And the children of Ammon were humbled by the children of Israel. Sad fulfillment of Jephthah's vow. And when Jephthah returned from Maspha to his house, his only daughter met him with timbrels and with dances, for he had no other children. And when he saw her, he rent his garments and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast deceived me, and thou myself art deceived. For I have opened my mouth to the Lord, and I can do no other thing. And she answered him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth to the Lord, do unto me whatsoever thou hast promised, since the victory hath been granted to thee, and revenge of thy enemies. And she said to her father, Grant me only this which I desire. Let me go, that I may go about the mountains for 2 months, and may bewail my virginity with my companions. Verse 37, clarification. Bewail my virginity. The bearing of children was much coveted under the Old Testament, when women might hope that from some child of theirs the Savior of the world might one day spring. But under the New Testament, virginity is preferred. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 35, resuming with verse 38. And he answered her, Go. And he sent her away for 2 months. And when she was gone with her comrades and companions, she mourned her virginity in the mountains. And the 2 months being expired, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed, and she knew no man. From thence came a fashion in Israel, and a custom has been kept, that from year to year the daughters of Israel assemble together and lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite for 4 days. Chapter 12. The Ephraimites quarrel with Jephthah. But behold, there arose a sedition in Ephraim, and passing towards the north, they said to Jephthah, When thou wentest to fight against the children of Ammon, why wouldst thou not call us, that we might go with thee? Therefore we will burn thy house. And he answered them, I and my people were at great strife with the children of Ammon, and I called you to assist me, and you would not do it. When I saw this, I put my life in my own hands, and passed over against the children of Ammon, and the Lord delivered them into my hands. What have I deserved that you should rise up to fight against me? The men of Galaad slay the Ephraimites. Then calling to him all the men of Galaad, he fought against Ephraim, and the men of Galaad defeated Ephraim, because he had said, Galaad is a fugitive of Ephraim, and dwelleth in the midst of Ephraim and Manasseh. And the Galadites secured the fords of the Jordan by which Ephraim was to return. When any one of the number of Ephraim came thither in the flight, and said, I beseech you, let me pass, the Galadites said to him, Art thou not an Ephraimite? If he said, I am not, they asked him, Say then, Sibboleth, which is interpreted, an ear of corn. But he answered, Sibboleth, not being able to express an ear of corn by the same letter. Then presently they took him and killed him in the very passage of the Jordan. And there fell at the same time of Ephraim 42,000. Death of Jephthah. And Jephthah the Gileadite judged Israel 60 years, and he died, and was buried in his city of Galaad. Abisan, Ahilan, and Abdon judge Israel. After him, Abisan of Bethlehem judged Israel. He had 30 sons and as many daughters, whom he sent abroad and gave to husbands, and took wives for his sons of the same number, bringing them into his house. And he judged Israel 7 years. And he died, and was buried in Bethlehem. To him succeeded Ahilan, a Zabulonite, and he judged Israel 10 years. And he died, and was buried in Zabulon. After him, Abdon, the son of Hillel, a Pharaohite, judged Israel. And he had 40 sons, and of them 30 grandsons, mounted upon 70 ass colts, and he judged Israel 8 years. And he died, and was buried in Pharaoh, in the land of Ephraim, in the mount of Amalek. And that was chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Judges. Thank you very much for joining me. Join me next week for chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16 of Judges. Once again, thank you very much for joining me. You make sure that you all happen to have a wonderful week, and God bless.